Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, death slayers, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm useful idiot. Welcome. And let's go to Syria and talk about the fact that 200 more U.S. troops go into Syria as part of the U.S. official policy of no boots on the ground. And so now with no boots on the ground in Syria, we have a total of 500 U.S. troops in Syria. And kind of interesting because, we're not officially in a combat zone there. It's a foreign country. They're in the midst of some kind of civil war, and all kinds of players are involved in Syria. And here we have 500 U.S. combat troops in the middle of all that. And somehow that's kind of okay. And ostensibly, of course, they're there for training and logistics and support, but there's an admittance, this time at least, that some combat troops are there, and they will be in potential danger zones. And in fact, we had a U.S. casualty in Syria now, so the U.S. is officially in a war in Syria, and no surprise there. But this is in preparation for the Raqqa assault, and as always, just like Iraq, it's just this mission creep and this incremental to the point where you end up with thousands of troops, and these are just the ones who are declared, and these are not the ones that are rotated in and out that they don't have to declare because the duty's too short. And this also doesn't include all the mercenaries and private contractors. So anyway, the fact is, the U.S. combat troops are in Syria and they're part of the war. And in this case, like I say, they're so-called preparation for the Raqqa assault. We have 45,000 fighters lined up, mostly Kurdish yet again. And so the Kurdish will do all the backbreaking work. They'll put their blood in the desert, and they'll do all the grunt work, and they'll be the only effective force against ISIS. And then they'll be left to hang out to dry in Syria. And so it's interesting that 45,000 fighters. And there we go again, too. We have 45,000 fighters being assembled to go after ostensibly somewhere between, I don't know, 3,000 and 10,000, who knows, ISIS fighters in Raqqa. I haven't seen the numbers, but generally they've been vacillating around that number. And so once again, we need this overwhelming force in order to deal with these ISIS sectors in Iraq and Syria. And the U.S. has been stepping up their efforts in Syria. It doesn't even make the news anymore, but apparently last week 188 oil tankers were destroyed. And over the last month, there's been 300 U.S. airstrikes around the area of Raqqa. So in spite of all talks about a ceasefire and all the shifts and power shifts in Syria and the Turkish invasion of Syria and all the negotiations with the U.S. Russia, in spite of that, of course, the war is just raging on, and we have a situation in Aleppo too, which I'm going to do a separate video on. So in the midst of all this and this attack on Raqqa and Syria, of course, the United States has to placate Turkey, and so once again, the U.S. working with an unsavory authoritarian government with a loose cannon running the government in Turkey, and the U.S. foreign policy to placate them, particularly regarding the Kurdish, even though the Kurdish are doing the only good work in Syria. And that's just how it goes. But like I say, the most important thing right now is here we go, more U.S. troops heading to this zone, in spite of the discussions of things in Syria are winding up, and that the Iraq war is closing in on Mosul. Things just rage on. But if you look at the media, things are kind of slowing down. But there you have it. More U.S. troops on the ground as part of the U.S. foreign policy of no boots on the ground. I'm useful idiot. Don't you be one too?